Welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I am a sore and exhausted and recently vaccinated Garrett Weinzierl. Here, as always, with the much more chipper and on top of things, Kyle Fergusson.
I told you not to flex during it, Garrett.
I didn't. Dude, you know me. I am a baby, an absolute baby when it comes to needles. I sat there, looked at the opposite wall, and made small talk with the doctor about anything other than the fact that I was about to have a needle jammed in my arm.
All right. So are we talking mouse hand or QWER hand?
QWER hand.
Okay, that should be more doable.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. All right. You ready to go from PC to things that have nothing to do with Heroes of the Storm, right? You know, and then I don't know, back to. Well, eventually we'll talk about Heroes of the Storm. That's what we're here to do. But here's the thing. I almost got on my right arm because I sleep on my left side. I'm a side sleeper, Kyle.
It's a strategy. Yeah.
I'm a side sleeper. And then my lovely wife reminded me, "Hey, genius, you drive a stick shift."
Oh.
And I go,
yeah, good call.
Ooh, yeah, I would not be able to drive myself home from the pharmacy.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that was fun. So I did that thing where I like brace my elbow on the armrest of the door of the car and like lightly hold onto the wheel as I let go of it to shift gears. Because my left arm is done, man. It is absolutely done. It is barely functioning today.
Do you not have one of those stitchings at the bottom of the wheel where you can kind of jam your fingernail in there and drive via that?
I could, yeah, I could, but okay, it was more comfortable to have the elbow supported.
Perfect.
So
perfect.
Yeah.
But you got to consider these sort of things.
I do. Yeah, last night, man. Yeah, because I got it done last night, and then after dinner, you were like, "Hey, man, you want to come sit in on my 5-man squad? We're missing a fifth tonight. You wanna get up to some games?" And so we went and had a really just rootin' tootin' time. Probably
good.
No, not probably. Factually, the best session of games I've ever had with your 5-man squad. Usually, it's kind of a mixed bag, leaning towards we didn't win a single damn game. But a couple hours after I got my vaccine, you were like, "Let's play some games." I'm like, "Yeah, my arm's feeling fine. It's a little weird, but not that bad." By the end of that session, dude, my arm was just full on fire. Just woo.
As someone who has broken their arm 3 times over the course of their life, JRPGs, man, you got to find a JRPG because they are turn-based, they are slow, the cutscenes are hours long, so you're basically not playing a game anyway, and you can lay out on the couch and recover.
Ah, okay. I'm just again building in Valheim. That's my current my vaccine arm hurts. That's it. That's
fair. That's fair.
Just building.
Clicking, yeah, but
just building. I'm trying to find us a damn shop, sir, and I don't think one exists on our shard.
There might be. Mine was in the middle of the island I found on my
world.
So,
solo world.
Yeah, I don't think you could sail to it, as it were. But hey, there's a giant mountain and we're gonna mine it, and I'm excited about that. But I'm also excited about Here's the Storm. Let's talk about that. Those games we played last night.
Yeah,
because it was a bit of a shock for me. Well, a shock is maybe too strong of a word. Cavalier Guest really likes bruisers. You may have mentioned, or I may have mentioned, and you may have noticed. So I thought I was going to get to Assassin last night, but I ended up just playing third bruiser the majority of the time.
Yeah, we were just all bruiser all the time, and it was working. For the most part. We lost one game, but that was actually a pretty close game.
It's an interesting problem, and a lot of people are acknowledging it. Bruisers are too powerful. They have mobility, they have escape, they have engage. Of course, not to the level of a warrior, but they have the ability to clear lanes, and many warriors or tanks don't, except for Johanna and stuff like that, who has found counters in things like Leoric, or just killing her via things like Leoric or terrain, or messing with her in a way. So everyone's really hungry, not only for content and balance patches and that sort of thing, but just to change up the bruiser meta, because everyone's feeling the staleness, which is interesting and definitely a product of too long in this patch. I still think that it's a very cool and healthy dynamic solo lane, but Sonya, Diva, and Hager are just on the top. And then from what I hear, if you can't get those three, you go Urel or Dahaka. And that's it. So I hear.
Okay, all right. So you hear in organized play, because I don't think you hear in at-home games.
No.
Okay.
At home games, I think you're still going to pick whatever you want because that's what you're used to.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
It's an important distinction to make, but that also means that should those three get nerfed, there is a cornucopia of other heroes waiting in the sidelines, like Rag. Rag actually has amazing lane clear, and with his change up for his meatball, as well as some basic baked-in things, a Blast Wave build is phenomenal, and you can double soak with Rag, actually. It's just that we have better double soakers in between you and Rag. So if Sonya, Diva, Hogger all get the bat, we're looking at a Ragnaros Leoric meta, perhaps, which would be very exciting and different, but would also settle in that world. So people are trying to figure out a little bit what Blizzard could do to even them all out, rather than have a shuffle. And that's an interesting conversation, because if balance patches are going to be further apart, we need to make sure that they're all evened out. We can't have these content patches that cause someone to rocket to the top anymore, because they'll be at that top for too long.
That's an interesting concern that I hadn't really thought about, but it's in stark. it's front row center right now, right? Because Hogger's been on top for so long. Now in our home games, I mean, he's kind of nestled into an acceptable win rate, but in the right hands, he's oppressive still.
And it's not exactly playable by everyone. He's amazing at camps, but you have to be excused to go do those camps. And without old systems like, and I'm willing to bring it up, things like tower ammo, which I don't think is something we should go back to necessarily, but those sort of mechanics gave you an ability to go do a Merc camp lane without sacrificing too much in terms of XP. It's an interesting thing, too, because we also have XP orbs, which means you can get back to that lane later and still collect that XP, which has led to this big double soak problem, if you want to call it that, in the game, which has further restricted the heroes. So there are many avenues they could go about this. One could be another anomaly, in a sense, or working back a current anomaly, mixing together different ideas that makes that solo lane more persistent and cuts out the double soak. In fact, to that Rag note, should Rag become the premier bruiser, Lava Wave means he can triple soak. So you basically have a Lost Viking situation going on there, where the team will build a 4-man around him and go do whatever the heck they want while Rag does the double soak. So there is no world where a simple balance patch is going to fix that bruiser problem, unless they over-elevate tanks, and then that's a whole different problem. And we've been in double tank metas, and they're not fun.
They're not, right? Because I always tend to lean towards why don't we make something else stronger rather than nerfing what's strong? Like, and tanking just seems, I mean, in my opinion, it just seems so uninteresting. Like, it's just not something I get excited about or want to learn. With some exceptions, like, it's still like, my God, seeing a good Diablo go off it's art. I think at this point. But for the most part, I just kind of look at the tank roll and I'm just like, it's something I have to do, not something I want to do, is where it is filed for me. So my brain goes, yeah, it'd be nice to see the Warriors get some love. Let's bring them up. Let's give them a buff. Let's sort it out. But as you mentioned, we've been there before. Do we want to go back to a double tank meta? Because that's what potentially could happen if tanks get buffed. And then again, let's bring back the point from 5 minutes ago, which is like any conversation we're going to have now about balance changes are conversations that are probably 2 months worth of game changing. This is going to be the game state because of how long we are between patches now. So, like, what do we want? I guess, Kyle. What do we actually want? And it can be you and me specifically. We can be literally we, or we can talk in a more general style of where we think the community would like to see the game go?
It's a really, really tough question. There's one answer for sure. People want Christmas cleaned up. They're tired of even seeing the loot boxes. It's not that loud. Personally, I think Hogger is goofy and doofy. I don't really like seeing his face when I log into the game. I don't like seeing it at the top of Reddit. I know I play a lot of Hogger. I put a ton of work into him because of his power level for my NGS team. But he's just sort of silly. And I don't like him being the premier poster child when I go to play Heroes of the Storm. I want to see, more art. I want to see Raynor up there. I want to see these big Blizzard classics, even though, of course, World of Warcraft Hogger, he's been around for a long time. He's just goofy. So to me, it's more offensive, if you even want to call it that Hogger is smiling at me when I log in than the fact that my boxes happen to have gumdrops on them. Really, at the end of the day, there's nothing that winter eventy going on in the game.
That's fair. I don't share your concerns about Hogger.
The purely aesthetic.
Yeah, I get it. I want to defend it just from if this is the new Heroes, this is our reality. The game is going to stay in a certain state for a much longer period of time than we are used to. We're getting used to it. It's coming with a lot of gripes and public outcry. I think rightfully so in some places. But it's going to stay that way for a while. And to me, to have the game front loaded with the last big thing, in this case, Hogger, for an extended period of time is a better look than. Could you imagine if they had done another Toys event and you load up and the Heroes logo is the Toys event logo and you're looking at that every single time you're logging into the game in April? That would look absolutely horrendous. And so, yeah, I get where you're coming from Hogger. I understand why you feel the way you feel, but from a branding point of view, I vote for Hogger as our emissary of loading than the holidays.
And there is no happy answer there either, because think about the emotional reaction you have to a World of Warcraft load-in screen, right? Imagine a bit of snow on there, a little bit of some music going in, Warlords of Draenor, and you see that load screen, you hear that music, and you go, oh, geez. And so even if they took it all away, if they took away Hogger, they went with a big generic Heroes of the Storm is loading into a big generic screen, people would call that dead. And to have that conversation is a little weird because we're a copy of a copy. We are a custom map made in Warcraft 3 that became a game that then Blizzard made their own version of that game. It's weird to me, and it always will be, when people say, wow, why is this game unpopular? What's wrong with this world? I'm like, you're playing a really obscure game mode. Look at shooters. Look at John Madden. There are games that continually cycle that clearly have an audience.
Did you just call it John Madden?
Yeah, whatever it's called. Sports ball.
Okay.
FIFA.
I'm sorry, just imagining, look at John Madden, and somewhere John Madden's why are these nerds talking about me?
Gets pinged naturally.
Yeah, but of course.
There is a certain ostracization that comes with playing an obscure game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where to take this because to me, I just look at it of course we're having issues kind of accepting the slower state of things because it didn't used to be this slow. Obscure game or not, this is where we have planted our flag, and things are changing, and we don't like it.
It's extra interesting too because, as you mentioned, or being more the pusher of things slowing down, I will say. I'm not accusing you of that. But in the past, when things were full force, a hero a month, you were overwhelmed and it was way too fast. And looking back on the past, it's almost as though we wanted communication back then that says, this is for now. We are pumping because we want to build the game to a state where we can now enter this current state. Rather than what we felt then, it was is this forever? Is this permanent life? Will I always just never understand this game?
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Again, I'm not too sure where to take that, other than like there was a happy medium, or a happy medium can be reached, and I think it was the last 2 years. I think the last 2 years was a good clip for this game to move at, and we're not hitting that anymore. Like it hasn't been a hero a month for over 2 years, Kyle. Like
certainly,
like you're talking about it like it was 2 months ago, and we've had a quote unquote new normal for 2 years, and now that's changed once again. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's a psychological aspect to all this that's rather fascinating, right? Because I think, even if you were pro a new hero a month, right? You say you were one of the ones that didn't think that was too much. I still don't think there were that many folks that fell into that category that were outspokenly really bummed out when that slowed down after the cancellation of HGC, right? I think a lot of us, stuck around, just loved the game, and we're just stoked as hell that it was still coming out with new content. Whether it was as much content as before, we were still just happy to see that it was getting regular updates.
I'm convinced that necessarily wasn't a content plan. It was just a business plan. It was the workflow of the time. It had very little to do with what an audience would actually want, just merely how they constructed their team and their work pipeline to build the game to a point where it could settle and could be more widely available with the number of heroes that is required of it in a MOBA sphere. And that's interesting. So obviously we have no answers. All I can really say is let's not shoot the messenger, because we're asking for messengers. We're asking to be communicated with, but when they show up and they have very little to say or are cagey, people are going to get upset about that.
Well, there's no messenger to shoot.
Well, there were some misfires last night on the Reddit, which were a little disappointing. Brew commented on some cosplay that was up on the Reddit, and everyone kind of jumped him for lack of communication, as though the artist was supposed to, in a thread about complimenting someone's cosplay, supposed to somehow provide us with the information we're looking for.
I missed that, but are you telling me, Kyle, that people are incapable of reading the room on the internet?
Yes, I am. It's a fascinating issue, and we all grew up in different spheres, and the people who learn to communicate in Twitch are not the people who learn to communicate on AOL Instant Messenger, and we all have very different ways of talking. And I think it's led to us all kind of being like, darn kids don't know how to talk online with respect, which is basically what every old person has ever said forever.
All right, I'm gonna give the subreddit some credit here, because I went and found this, and it looks like everyone was being a prick, was downvoted into the ground. So
downvoted, deleted, yes.
Internet democracy at its finest, Kyle.
It handled itself in that way, but all the same, don't scare off Bruce commenting on art and cosplay. We want even those who don't bring the balanced messages to enjoy their interaction on that website.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. We're in pretty, I would say that we're in pretty unique situations in that we cover the game, we do a weekly podcast, yada, yada, yada. So I feel biased when I say, like, the one question I just really want answered is, like, how regularly can we expect any update? Because I want to know how to structure my thoughts and structure our conversation. But
this isn't, it's not coming from a place of hate by Blizzard. That's kind of the gauge we have to add to this, because look at World of Warcraft and its current delays, its noting of the longest period before an update of any expansion. It's pretty wild. And it seems like all content in regular updated games has hit this wall, which may have been the COVID wall at the end of the day. Just the production pipelines have dried up in that sense, caught up to what was capable of them in that time. And, it's also just practice. Like, as we talked offline there, but you got games like Valheim coming out. Sure, small teams putting things together who are used to this work environment. Like, to go from cool office job talking in the hallway, sitting in your open desk concept area to home is wildly different and requires a completely different level of not only like self-regulation, but attention and taxation.
And working over local area networks versus whatever internet you happen to be stuck with in Southern California.
Exactly.
No, I'm with you. And it's just, it's still a conversation that's going to be had. And I was coming back around on that. I would say I'm biased, but I don't think I am because the community is having the same conversation. I think a large portion of the community wants to just kind of have an idea of like, let us know if it's COVID. Is it COVID? Is that it? Or is the game just slowing down? If the game is slowing down, how much so? Are we 2 months between every update, or is it just going to be completely irregular? We have no sense of any of this. And in the past, the team has been really good about leveling with us on such inquiries.
World of Warcraft gives me a lot of comfort.
Wait, so staring at a larger, more well-funded dumpster fire is giving you comfort?
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
Cool. That's fair.
Dumpster fires are comforting. They provide warmth and light.
And I mean, for like 2 years now, I've been saying the same thing about Overwatch. It's like anytime anyone had anything to say about the speed at which Heroes is updated, I'm just like, well, the esports darling Overwatch barely gets anything new of substance. So what do y'all want? Because this game gets updates like crazy.
Yeah, and we're about to head towards CCL, which is going to, in some ways, and hopefully too, redefine what is our normal for play here at home. Those sort of games have an impact. I mean, look at Triple Bruiser, or what we pulled off last night, which I think was Quadruple Bruiser, but technically one of them was ranged.
Half of one of them was ranged because it was Rexar and it was me.
Right. So you were the Carry Vala in the back on Rexar. but our CC train was phenomenal. And those sort of ideas are birthed in those tournament environments, regardless of what balance can do to them.
Yeah, and I guess a part of it is like I have my own like I'm a fan, so yeah, of course I would like more regular updates to this game. But for the most part, a lot of this conversation we're having, I'm just fascinated by how all of this is rolled out, right? Like when I say something, when I kind of like push back or kind of drill down on something that you say in regards to, well, it's just like, well, why don't they talk to us? Like, what's going on? Like, it's more from a place of fascination and just trying to understand, like, kind of the story and the chapter of this game's history that we're currently in and currently writing, more than it is like open, like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Burger. This is the worst game. And that's not what it is. It's not where it's coming from. So that's just another thought I wanted to get out there. Is some of this too is just me having fun with my own thoughts. Because you mentioned CCL and my brain wants to go, all right, that's exciting. However, Kyle, if the meta doesn't change, I think CCL is just going to become a poster child for the meta being old and moldy.
Correct.
It will also become a poster child for bugs that haven't been fixed because certain heroes will be not allowed in the league.
Well, and certain talents is probably where that really hits his head, because then you're watching a Falstad with a W build, but he can't take the level 1 talent. So your brain kind of goes, ooh, is this a strategy? And you have to constantly be like, no, audience, this is just broken, and he's not allowed to select that one.
Right.
I think of, movie making, right? Like in particular, I don't know, we have blowing the bridge on top of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Everyone's sitting around in the making of documentary being like, oh, we have one take. All right, we're gonna blow up the bridge. There's robots that kick, so the guys look like they're falling for real. And only one shot at this. Or you show up and Darth Vader's mask is broken. Oh, we have to shoot him from a left angle today because Darth Vader's mask is broken. We can't. Oh my God, this is so interesting. Frodo's sister, what was it, Sam? Somebody, Pippin stabbed himself in the foot on a piece of glass. Like, they had to cut shooting for the day. Like, it's all really interesting stuff. And I too would like to really know that stuff. And then that circles back to this must not be what they expected. Whatever is delaying the game right now is not the new normal because it was pushed out 6 weeks without notice. I fully believe that if this was like, guys, this is our current pipeline, this is how we expect things to work, and we're leaving that up on purpose, they'd tell us about it. But they want to be cagey because those surprises are good. And we know this from Blizzard too. Like, lots of people right now are requesting, stop stockpiling. You know, you've got skins. We've seen them. We've data mined them. Just post them when they're ready. Just put them out. But no, that is not how the internet works. And for better or for worse, PC Gamer, Polygon, all of these websites gather around big piles of skins to talk about them in groups.
Well, and I bet you there's metrics internally too to suggest that players gather and return around sizable updates.
Exactly. Whereas those little skin updates don't go anywhere. I can't tell you the last Smite skin that came out, but I know they have an event right now.
I bet it was sexy though, Kyle.
It might have been.
I bet it was a sexy skin.
I don't know. I've only played Smite once. I got ganked from behind, and I went back to World of Warcraft, where I got ganked from behind. So, I didn't really give it that solid of a go, but I was pointing my camera the wrong way or something.
Yeah, I haven't played it since its first year out. But
also, I went on to play Paragon, that epic game that got canceled. So, I kind of got my MOBA 3D kicks in that environment.
Never tried that one.
It was really fun.
Came out post HOTS though, didn't it?
Yes, yeah, right. I think 2 years of HOTS. So there was some exodus of HOTS people over there, kind of making a name for themselves, setting up shop, and then that went under. And it's a fascinating landscape. And it was amazing. Like that Outriders game went down for a day, and just the heat that received. We're all hungry right now. Can you believe it, Garrett? We're really hungry for at-home things we can do at this point.
Who would have thought that being stuck at home for over a year would make us a little sensitive to a game drought?
Yeah.
Little sensitive. Yeah. Yeah. So we're on the subject. The other you brought up the holiday event, and I've seen this be the target of a lot of ire on the internet. And I guess I just want to ask the question, like, do we want them to just turn it off? Let's say it's even that simple, because the amount of times I've seen this week and the week before thrown around, be like, they can't take 5 minutes to turn it off. Y'all, we have no idea how long it takes to turn on or off an event. Like, we have no way of knowing. It's probably so much more convoluted than we could possibly think. But let's just say it's even possible to just go toggle it off. Do we want them to? Do we care? What do you think, Kyle?
We know updating the game is the easy part, because that's a number change and a custom map editor, as far as we know. Doing anything outside of the game is the very difficult part. So, other than the boxes having the faces and a gumdrop on them, I don't see anything that makes me believe it's still Christmas. Sure, the shop, but I shop in the quick match screen when I'm looking for things, because I want to spin my hero around in the environment that I'm used to seeing them in. So it doesn't really matter to me, but it would be a good gesture. But I bring up, if they turned it off, then the game would be playing and people would be complaining about that aspect of it. So there's no winning. And we've heard all sorts of weird things like Pool Party in the past with Stitches or even Chromie. That broke every time they balanced the game, because those heroes got updated and they had to like re-update the heroes. And then Stitches got a full rework, and they're just like, you know what, this is too much work. We can't update Pool Party anymore. Who knows, if you go to turn it off, you're actually grabbing the generic in-between event version of the game, dropping it in, and then you go about balancing the game to its current state, increasing the chance that there's now bugs or resurface old bugs that you forgot to re-update. So it might actually be a huge ordeal.
I find that all fascinating.
Yeah, I'd love to know it.
I want to know. I want to know, Kyle. I want to know so bad. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
The T-Rex got wet, which meant it weighed more than the lift capable of it. So Jurassic Park T-Rex was shivering. So they had to like dry it off by slapping it with towels over and over again in order to get the shot. Like that sort of stuff is so great. I really, really hope that when they find that beat, when they find that new cadence, that they open up a little bit and are just like, wow, dudes. You won't believe what we've been through.
You don't understand. Yeah, God, I followed you. I do feel like someone was like, "Why? What are you talking about a wet T-Rex for?" But yeah, I don't know. To answer my own hypothetical, I lean towards like just turn off the damn chess at this point. Like I see your point, Kyle. That some people will probably be like, "Oh, it's just whatever. It's just let's just go. Let's just turn it off."
If we want to get like conspiracy theory about it, holiday boxes do not ever contain boosts.
Ooh.
So yeah. Plus holiday boxes, I don't, with the guaranteed holiday item, have a less chance of opening new items should they put out generic items that aren't tied to an event.
Well, Kyle, you're talking about, you mentioned boosts. I bet you meant that's a negative insinuation that you're not leveling faster for free. I could spin it though and go, it's anti-smurfing effort.
Oh, there we go.
It's anti-smurfing effort, Kyle. That's why that's no boost in the boxes, so that your 7th free account can't level quickly without you spending more money.
What they should have done is made all the items holiday themed. So then all the Smurfs are nothing but like Christmas Malfurions, and you can always tell a Smurf and what year it was made in based on what it's wearing.
You'd also have to make it so that when you buy heroes, you don't get their base skins, you get their holiday skins if you purchase within a certain. But yeah, like, I'm with you.
Taboo.
Because then you just look like a Christmas tree clown, and that's what.
Right now, my best way to tell Smurf is to open their account, see that their top level is Medivh, and go, yeah. you immediately jumped into Heroes of the Storm, and you're like, oh, this is the hero for me.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened. But all right. Well, before we move on, we have some folks to thank. Let's thank our patrons, Kyle, supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. If you go and you support us on Patreon, not only do we just thank you very much for an independent podcast, this is how we monetize the show, and it's a big part of how both Kyle and I pay our bills. So thank you very much for the support. But you'll also get access to our Discord. You'll get to sign up for our monthly game nights, as well as some other perks. So go check it out, patreon.com/ITN. If you enjoyed our Valheim talk at the top, I've been uploading all of our Valheim VODs as little bonus content pieces over there. It's not a podcast, but you and I do get to rambling about a lot of just rando stuff.
Hey, there's time to sail.
There is. We talk about anime.
Take a moment to talk. Yeah.
We talk about movies. Next week, I'll probably talk to you about Godzilla vs. King Kong while we're playing Valheim.
Okay. I'm still a little confused as to why that's so popular and why that's such a talking point.
There's no movies, Kyle. There's been 4 movies in a year, and one of them is this one, and it looks pretty. And that's it. That's it. Actually, nope. I'm saving it for Valheim. But I did actually legitimately enjoyed that movie. But yeah, go check it out, patreon.com/ITN. Huge thanks to our latest patron, Ryan Oatridge. Thank you, Ryan, very much for signing up and becoming an Into the Nexus patron. And also, I wanted to give a shout out to Dylan K for upping their pledge. I've been trying to be better about noting this. Got to go into the notifications, take a look at Patreon. But yeah, I'm trying to shout out when y'all up your pledges, because we really appreciate that too. Because it's like getting a new patron or multiple new patrons, depending on how much you up your pledge by. So thank you, everybody, for the support. Had a great time in our Bonanza last week. Everyone was just like on fire, man. I was laughing a lot. Everyone was just cracking wise. It's a good time.
You won't believe this, but you kind of get to play a different game when you have a 5-stack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it's also unique when it's a 5-stack of people you don't regularly play with.
Yeah, you get to see a lot of quirks. We're mixing leagues, so everybody's doing things a little different, but that makes it all the more magical when something does line up and some combo does get executed.
I dig it. I dig it. I also dig our sponsor today, Kyle. We have a sponsor for today's episode. It's Bombas. They are back. That's right. You may have heard us talk about Bombas and their delightfully comfortable socks. Some might say the most comfortable socks in the history of feet before. But if you haven't, you should go check them out over at bombas.com/nexus. That's BOMBAS.com/nexus. But Bombas has like rethought every little detail of socks. And they just make them so much more comfortable. I wear them darn near every day, and if you haven't heard me talk about this before, I made allusion to driving and whatnot before, but I used to be a sandals guy, started driving stick. Now I got to wear shoes all the time because I'll be damned if I'm going to drive stick in shoes, and I'm so glad. I live in Florida. I wear shorts 90% of the year. I can't have socks going up to my knees with my shoes, with my shorts. I would look ridiculous, okay? I'd look absolutely absurd. So got myself a bunch of the no-show style Bombas, and they're just so damn comfortable, man. I didn't know you could, like back when, they've been supporting us for a while, but back when Bombas first approached us, I was like, wait, you can have arch support in a sock? That's a thing you can do? Apparently.
Blew your mind.
Yeah, just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. On top of the fact that every pair of socks you purchase, Bombas donates a pair to someone in need. And the generosity of Bombas customers has allowed them to donate over 34 million pairs of socks and counting through their nationwide network of over 3,000 plus giving partners. So go check them out and give a pair when you buy a pair and get 20% off your first purchase at bombas.com/nexus. Again, it's spelled BOMBAS.com/nexus, and you're going to get 20% off your first purchase. Go check them out. bombas.com/nexus. And now, Kyle, there's one last, like, just strange thing that caught my eye in Here's the Storm before we talk. We're going to talk a little bit of ARAM in our strategy segment this week, but game's a little long in the tooth. It's pretty rare we make some headlines on noteworthy video game websites, right?
Okay.
Destructoid, who have run more than one Heroes article in like the last month, put up a piece talking about Heroes of the Storm speedrunning, which just made me raise an eyebrow as high as I possibly could. And it turns out the website speedrun.com does have a listing for Heroes of the Storm, and you might be thinking, Kyle, what's the first question that comes to mind?
Which mode? How?
Yeah, my first question was, how the hell do you speedrun a MOBA? And it's basically just time to core down. And I more just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, and also this is also me asking our listeners, does anyone know the finer details about this? Because the piece on Destructoid doesn't really go into it, and nor does speedrun.com.
Okay.
It just lists like the fastest single heroes to get cores down, and I'm like, does it discount it if anyone else had a hand in getting the core down? Like,
so this is entirely solo. So you are one hero versus the lanes, and that's it. There are no enemy heroes. There are no allied heroes. And that one hero is what makes the speed run calculatable. Because otherwise, of course, you end up with Falstad or Zul'jin on your team. You're going to have a bit faster of a core kill compared to maybe Murky and Chromie.
So the other thing I don't understand is that there's like a top best time, but it seems to be a combination of your best times, but the edition I was running didn't add up perfectly. It was close, but not quite on the dot. So that's the other thing I don't quite understand about this.
So the video here shows that in 12 minutes total, they're able to get down 3 different cores. But the actual speed run time is Braxis Holdout in 3 minutes 51 seconds, Dragonshire in 3 minutes 56 seconds, and Blackheart's Bay in 4 minutes 26 seconds.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's sort of a combined speed run, and I guess that's the track you go on now. Like you don't just speed run the first level of Mario. You got to make it up the steps to the Bowser boss fight and double flip Reno up the that there's some sort of combination that is up for grabs. which it is kind of interesting. And I'm not at all surprised that Brax's Holdout is probably the shortest speedrun capable map. Because you get that Zerg wave, and yeah, you can end on first Zerg wave.
Yeah, yeah. But I just found this fascinating that this is even a thing, and was also curious if anyone knew kind of the finer pointers of what this is. But Raynor, Sylvanas, and Probius are at like the top of the leaderboard.
Interesting on Raynor. I'm not terribly surprised by Probius. He has a lot of shock damage in him, and Sylvanas naturally able to get away with things. It looks like even for this particular speed run. Oh, no. That's Raynor as well. I thought it was Tychus for the final Blackheart's Bay. So yeah, Raynor, best speedrunner in the game.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it makes sense, right? For sustained damage. Like, he's not bound by mana for just how much throughput he has.
Yeah, and your self-heal allows you to keep going, unlike Zul'jin, who would ultimately have to stop moving, stop auto-attacking, keep his health low without any sort of support on him. The core would kill him, even if you dingoed, and it looks like you won't be dingoing here because these are all victories around the level 5 mark.
Yeah, you're not going to get to level 10, it looks like.
Yes, some interesting stock for Raynor. Not somebody I see a lot right now. I definitely see a lot more Zul'jins than Raynors.
Yeah, same. But I just thought this was so strange because it's something I've never heard of until I saw this piece on Destructoid. So I've got a link to the show notes for everybody. You can just go to speedrun.com and look up Heroes of the Storm to see what the heck we're talking about. But if we have a listener who does this, I want to hear from you because this is fascinating. But anyways, let's keep the show chugging along in this week's strategy discussion where we're going to talk about an ARAM tier list.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
I have a PhD in PvP.
So this popped up on the Heroes subreddit recently, Kyle, which was done by, should have listed the author's name, loading in the Reddit right now, and it was Epistemite is my best attempt at pronouncing that.
Okay.
But again, link at the show notes. It's on the Reddit right now. This is one of the top voted things in the last week that wasn't an April Fool's joke.
Man, what a wild thing that was. This is interesting regardless of ARAM, though, because what this basically says is who's good at stacking and who's good at breaking up team fights, which is really important should this triple, even quadruple bruiser business start becoming any sort of the norm. In fact, the only game we lost last night in our 5 stackery was versus May, who broke up our ability to gather around Lucio in order to protect Tychus, who would also have to peel out. It's a fascinating execution on what ARAM already gives. And I really do think ARAM is probably the best place to learn this game in terms of just raw experience with heroes. A quick environment where you're getting hit by all sorts of things, and as long as you're curious enough to learn, you can open that tab screen when dead and say, now what hit me? What was that final thing? Read an ability a little bit, maybe see some auto attacks that, you don't really understand the numbers of, but start to get a reference for how good a hero is when it comes to that actual team fight, which is where the game is ultimately decided.
Yeah, it's been on my mind because we've been doing it with our Bonanza nights and up until the last year, really, you and I hadn't interfaced with it too much.
So very, very, very top of the list, of course, is Zul'jin. If you've ever experienced a Zul'jin in ARAM, you know how powerful this guy is with just the ability to stack to ridiculous amounts. And Gazlo, which is a surprise to me, but his most bombastic, pun intended, moment is absolutely team fight oriented. I'd see no reason to go Robo Goblin in ARAM.
Yeah. And oh, dude, I mean, could you imagine getting the 20 and getting multi bombs on a 1-lane map?
Or just, I mean, what's his level 20 Gravo Bomb is pretty rocking. It's been a while since I've read it here. I've actually been off the Gazlo train for a bit just because, well, other things like Diva and Hogger here. Increase Gravo Bomb's radius by 25% and its damage by 50%. Each enemy hero pulled reduces the cooldown by 12 seconds. Oh yeah, that sounds pretty ARAM good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. As a matter of fact, it wasn't the most recent Bonanza, but I think it was Bonanza before that. I got a Zul'jin game in, if I'm not mistaken, and it went well, to say the least.
Really have to know how to play Zul'jin and ARAM because you have your whole team out in front of you. Plus, no core shielding, which means you get a Zul'jin connected, it can be over.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning too that the tier lists are always subjective, right? But this one was put together to the best of its ability by win rates with stats available to us. So the one that seemed somewhat surprising to me in the 55 to 59% win rate category was an Uberak. Because I would feel like an Uberak just gets shredded, right? And I feel like, I don't know, I excel the most with an Uberak when I have anywhere else I can go to get away from people.
Yeah, an Uberak definitely thrives in a sort of more bushy, stocky, stun you up follow-up environment, which without the bushes is perfectly fine for ARAM, but he does get focus fired. You also get right back on the field, though, so maybe an Uberak dying compared to the amount of stuns he brings for multi-hits isn't that big a deal. My surprise in Tier S here is Deckard, just because he's got awful mana in the early game. I'm always just and I know it's about self-control, and I've been working on that, actually. I really like playing Deckard if I have to heal, and maybe someone like Malfurion isn't available right now. Stukov's just so much work. Deckard has really good ARAM abilities with his cube and his seal, but those are so expensive, you should rarely ever cast them if you actually want to get any healing done, and you can't hearth back for full mana on Deckard. So, just a surprise to me.
Yeah, same. I mean, I don't know. Maybe just the control of on-demand heals, as long as you don't step on them, is worth something early game that offsets his mana inefficiency, because once you use a well, it's not like Hearthon does a damn thing for you. I don't know. That's one I don't have I'm with you. I don't have a good head for that. Everyone else makes a lot of, like, I get Li Ming. I get why Li Ming is this high.
Yeah, it could just be like bottomless flasks, or maybe even more NATOs, which is rather ridiculous when you get to, level 20 and have that sort of multi-hit hero style. This might just be a late game thing. Tier A, it's cool to see Thrall there. The one place he's really going to get that Crash Lightning down. I'm still amazed that Crash Lightning hasn't been tweaked or updated in any way. In fact, Thrall, probably not with stats here, because we're talking about different leagues here, but Thrall might be the most forgotten bruiser in the whole game right now. According to Top End Play, he has one place, and it's Crash Lightning in the 4-man on BOE. And that is so depressing.
But is it surprising at all with the conversation we had at the top of the show about the state of bruisers?
Not particularly, no.
Thrall doesn't really bring much uniqueness. Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that surprises me. I see Zagara falls in the 53 to 55% win rate category in ARAM, and yet I'm always surprised when I end up on Zagara in ARAM and it goes well. It shouldn't. Like, it's you can just take the auto attack stacking talent at 4 and just go nuts.
Yeah, I would be really curious to see which talents are the big ones for her, because you are able to take serrated spines without stepping on any other quests, and you can still get Bile Drop, which increases the radius after hitting 12 heroes with infested drop spawn an additional roachling, which is actually a really big deal. And 12 sounds low, but it's actually tons of work to get this done in a normal game, because a lot of those Zagaras are going to be making their way into Corrosive Saliva and a sort of giant killer build, which also not only affects the hunter killers, the Hydralisks, but affects the roaches. Now you have bonus roaches, and, well, that's pretty darn good at killing people.
Yeah. That's certainly what I go when I end up in an ARAM on Zagara. But, yep.
Now, I do think as we get into the B tier, we're starting to see some of the issues with our current mages, and we talked about this in the past. The fact that Kael'thas and Jaina heroes that traditionally punish grouping are even down in B, that's just power creep. Like, of all the environments that Kael'thas should be good in, this may signify a problem with the hero. Granted, they can't really do anything about it, because if they do, then Gold League is insanity till the end of time.
Which we talked about quite a bit last week.
Tassadar's there too, but I believe that's just Tassadar players' faults. They see grouped heroes and they go, "Oh, I'm auto attack building." I've got two strong opinions in this game about quest talents, and they're all on Tassadar's auto attack one, and I think it's called Creed of the Hunter on Vala. If you win with that thing, I will always not compliment you. It's probably the best way to say it. I will always think that it's something else that happened in the game, not Vala having 10% increased attack speed and getting 100 basic attacks.
It's like my Varian, except that I just think if you win with Varian, that's kind of how I feel.
Sure, you won in other spheres. Stukov was really good, but it really had nothing to do with Varian.
Right. And then we start to rapidly approach the 50% win rate and below segments of ARAM, which I guess the stuff that sticks out are things that are kind of meta heroes now, like Sonya, all the way down in the 45% win rate and below. It's like, just keep going slam build. Just, what are you doing? Just march down the lane. Just slam, go.
But Tychus is down there too. It could just be our sort of a Nubarak situation where the tanks respawn so fast and the back line, the whole line can back up so easily without having to run across half a map and get hunted down during that time, that merely they just wait for the tank to respawn and engage properly in that regard.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But seeing things like and like Diva, for instance, you can't hold on to your mech, which means you can't actually build a bomb. And when you do build a bomb, people are pretty good at walking away from the one thing that's on the map, as there's no objective causing them to become flummoxed in that instance and stick around and get hit by it.
Yeah, but then when we're comparing like low performing heroes to other low performing heroes, like Diva still surprises me because Diva's close to that 50% win rate, and Sonya's way down in the dump.
Here in Tier E is Alex Draza, and I got that in ARAM recently, and I thought it was going to be absolute madness. I thought Alex Draza would just kill ARAM.
Wait. I was in that game with you, wasn't I? We got double Alex Draza.
We did, and I thought that'd be super cool. I mean, first of all, Alex Draza's heal takes health from herself and gives away that amount increased by 1%. So two Alex Drazas, they can heal each other. You're invincible, right? Plus, you're going to go something like your Flame Buffet build into, Ancient Flame maybe, and you'll just be dragging all the time. It'll be amazing. And lo and behold, it was not actually amazing at all.
It turns out you should probably heal your team and not just the other Alex Draza.
There was a situation that came up last night, which was a little shocking because we completely forgot about massive units. Stitches landed a hook on an Archon that counts as massive, and he couldn't gorge the Tassadar he had gotten a hold of, which feels like a weird forgotten mechanic. Complete side conversation here, but outside of Archon, I can think of Asmodan as a massive unit. And Alex Draza's dragon does not count as a massive unit, and therefore can be gorged.
That does stick out as strange.
But it's not a mechanic we really ever played with. I mean, that's something that came from StarCraft. I remember there were certain units that couldn't be, grabbed by the Viper? Because they were massive?
Was it that they were massive, or now you're really testing my StarCraft memory.
Yeah, this is pretty deep. This is a pretty deep and bizarre mechanic.
It kind of feels like it should just be able to be gorged.
I think so.
That's a good question. Unpronounceable. Can Odin get gorged? Asks chat.
No, I believe that's massive as well.
Okay. Well, then Alex Strauss should not be able to be gorged in dragon form.
Massive units can break force fields. That's the one in StarCraft. Okay, thank you. Anyway, a complete side conversation, but a bizarre, forgotten mechanic that we haven't really played with in a while. And of course, Deathwing just immune to all sorts of things. So, but I think now he can absolutely get stuck on Tassadar force walls. Those are just force fields in StarCraft too. Weird stuff.
Yeah, strange stuff for sure. Hey Kyle, do we need to go on a deep exploration of why the Lost Vikings don't do well? Well, I guess they're unavailable.
But they're not allowed. They're not even allowed in there.
Sorry, I just realized it's in the unavailable section. So
but
sorry.
It would be more interesting now, given that they have that group up build, though, and there's been some tweaks to things like Viking Longboat.
That'd be true. Also, I feel like we could sneak Cho'Gall in, but it would have to be a surprise fourth option for 2 of the players.
Yeah,
I don't think you could remove. I don't think you could remove an option.
Why is Leoric not allowed? What can he do that's so impossible to contend with? I guess. Oh, wait. If you have reduced death timers, is it just too much work to keep Leoric?
I think that's what it is, because he would basically be. It'd either be bad if you didn't reduce his time as a ghost, or it'd be ridiculous if you adjusted how fast he could res as a ghost to make up for how quick everyone else resurrects. He would basically he'd either be objectively a bad pick because of how much longer it takes him to resurrect, or always alive because you compensated for it.
Okay. It gets weird for me with Hammer, which I understand the orbital BFG sort of business. But if we're allowing turn off the talent, maybe that's too much work. But it's weird to have Hammer gone and Zul'jin available.
Yeah, I mean, I could see an argument being made for Zul'jin, like being added to the unavailable list.
Probius makes sense because he probably loses all his pylons. And the rest of these, as they put it, FFF tiers, are really just hunters and very creative heroes on bigger maps, like Medivh, Yrel, Illidan, Chen, and then you have things like Genji or Malthael that would just struggle in stacked teams. Valir as well. Like, of course, what's Valir going to do? And get in there and pop smoke bomb and see how long she can last?
Yeah. I've been there. I've definitely played Valir on Amorim. It's rough.
Oh, they removed him because of death cheesing, according to the chat here. And that's true. If the cores have no shield mechanic, you could just ghost to the core, sit on top of it, and do for real damage that lasts forever.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Aesir is reminding us that there was a dev comment that the death respawn timer was causing their feeding flags to go off, and the same thing was happening with the Lost Vikings. And so they're also having to comb through feeding reports that were not accurate.
There's another interesting thing that's going on right now. These heroes that are lower mobility that do the scouting. I'm thinking of things, even maybe like ETC. Probably shouldn't call him lower mobility, but it's been noted that the AFK system, if you don't attack anything, actually punishes and teaches tanks wrong. Because we talk about warding and scouting so much, that a tank honestly shouldn't be smacking a lane at all. But if you were to play a tank 100% correctly in a dangerous situation, you'd get kicked from the game.
Boy, is that so far from the top of my list of concerns about Heroes of the Storm.
It's absolutely something that's pretty obscure. Like your lanes are so well covered, first of all. So probably not Storm League in the first place. Your lanes are so perfectly covered that the tank has nothing they can possibly do in the entire game, not even help take a merc camp, because they're so busy scouting the enemy team. And you get kicked from the game for that? It's probably not really an issue, but it is interesting when we think about, systems teaching you to play the game. If
anyone from the dev team is listening and you actually know of a of a case where this happened, where someone was kicked from the game for this? I want to know.
They played so amazingly perfectly and did nothing that they lie. It's very obscure.
It's been. Is there a warning that you've gone
I believe
AFK?
you have a warning, yes.
Is there a warning?
Yeah.
Okay. Wiggle in the bush.
Well, it's not about not moving. It's just that you don't hit anything. Like, I think because wiggling, of course, would mean that you could get one of those bots or something, and you could sit in the base wiggling the whole time, or I don't know, set up a drinking bird on your mouse.
A drinking bird.
Yeah.
I mean, that would just make you would just be clicking the same spot over and over again, and that would advance you with a mouse cursor.
Murd and Dwarf Toss. You just get that bird, hit knee over and over again, and he jumps on cooldown and stays in the game forever.
There you go. Okay, fair.
So you have to damage something to not flag that.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know. It's a fascinating place to put my brain for a little bit as someone who doesn't really analyze ARAM. And I like that this was put together based off win rates. So we'll have a link in the show notes. Go check it out, everybody. And now would you like to take some questions from our lovely listeners, Kyle?
I do want to.
Darkness stopped calling.
Darkness just texted me.
It's not the moment, it's a hero brawler!
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. If you're a patron, well, just write us right there in the patron Discord. You can skip the inbox entirely. Anyways, Delon writes in and says, I had a thought that it'd be a smart move for Blizzard to make all heroes available while on boost. What are your thoughts about that? I think it would make smurfing more expensive and benefit dedicated players more.
That's interesting. So we're basically combining the idea of a subscription or a battle pass into the boost that exists.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's a roundabout Heroes of the Storm sub, right? Like, get your boost and get access to the whole hero kit and caboodle.
Boy, might be a little off the beaten path here, but I wonder what's more important to Blizzard investors and numbers, playtime or money spent. So let's say
honestly, in reality, it probably depends from player to player.
Yeah, but let's say you're going to the Blizz investors and you want to get more money, more funds to put effort into Heroes of the Storm. Do you present them with first the money being spent on the game itself or the hours that are being played? Because Smurfs increase hours played, but a lot of them don't really buy anything with real money. Or they buy maybe that initial pack in order to get in Storm League as fast as possible. So would the expense actually motivate Blizzard to increase its investment in Heroes of the Storm if they went about it through this battle pass or a subscription model? I don't expect you to have an answer.
I mean, if it was successful, yes, I think it would. Yeah. Like, if enough people were doing it. Because it's just so much of it comes down to, well, I don't know, Kyle. I think everyone has their price, including Blizzard. So how many people would actually interface with this?
But this is actually a really unique thought. I can see where the issue might arise where opening all heroes with a boost means you have access to that level 5 gold, which means you can really spiral the free-to-play system out of control with a boost on top of every hero, even though you might not actually want to experiment, play, or draft those heroes.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. Because what's it's been so long since I bought a boost. What's a 1 month boost even cost?
Well, let's see. I got my button here. 30-day boost is 1,000 gems. 1,000 gems. You can buy 1,040 gems for $10.
Okay, so basically $10 a month. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Is like, it's so relative, right? Because to me, $10 is not prohibitively expensive. Especially if I was I don't smurf. So if I had a really, really bad time, let's say I just had a horrible experience. I'm like, damn it, I'm going to go fire up a new account. I feel like I could pretty quickly justify $10 to go and smurf with a full unlocked hero roster.
It's a broken system. It's an old system.
But it checks out.
Yeah, I do not have good answers for how to monetize this game in its current systems. People love to point at things like Dota, which give all the heroes out initially, but you have other teams of artists submitting skins and for-profit items to the Dota store. So the fact that Blizzard wanted to do everything in-house is ultimately the pause when it comes to opening up the game in that way. But it was also crafted after the StarCraft 2 system, after Diablo 3, and this was another step in that direction, and Overwatch is a box sort of product. So we don't have any examples really of what this game would look like with all the loot box talk. There just haven't been new games of this scope to even see what they would choose to do with their free-to-play system. And I guess we could look at things like Star Wars, Battlefront 2? Is that what it's called?
The one that literally caused legislation in certain countries.
Yeah.
And set the internet on fire, and they had to completely strip everything out in the 11th hour and redo their game.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was Battlefront 2.
And not really a opportunity there to see what a plan was by the company executed well. Became something good over time, and ultimately wasn't damaged by that bad launch, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah, no, it ended up becoming a really, really solid game. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was mostly focused on, like, do we think this would be worse or better for Smurf line of thinking for this? I mean, if we're starting to get into the rewards, like the gamification of rewards that is Heroes of the Storm, I think we just loop back around on the conversation we had about a month ago on battle passes, because that's just kind of where the market went.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Just in a mental sphere, I wonder if you had a boost, you would therefore have higher level heroes, which means when I check your account and I see that you are a Medivh, but you're actually level 50 instead of 15, I might not call you a Smurf. But I guess at that point, I'd call you a Smurf with a boost, so maybe there's no winning.
Eventually, right, if this was the case for long enough, we'd probably have ways of deducing Smurfs versus non-Smurfs.
Yeah.
But my brain just keeps going back to, I think it would be better for some and worse for others, right? Because I think if you're if you're prone to smurfing and you have some disposable income, you look at this and go, sweet, I'm not even limited by my hero pool anymore. But if you are, you go, damn. Well, frankly, I guess nothing really changes. You're kind of stuck in the same boat you're currently in if you fall into that category. But I thought it was an interesting idea because it's not something we've really ever had suggested before. And honestly, just kind of the idea of a roundabout subscription model for Heroes of the Storm, I find rather fascinating.
Yeah. And it does update us to a point. Ultimately, we're still not new player friendly, and we still have issues with our monetization, even when it comes to the free golds and stuff that we already have because of our current release schedule. So something's got to happen there, and I think this is a really cool idea and one I haven't heard before.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a few follow-ups on this. So let us know what you think, everybody. Anyway, a bit of a more personal question for you, Kyle. Razag writes in and says, "Hey, Kyle, big fan of the podcast. I'm a dad of 2 small girls and would like to hear, how do you balance HOTS and being a father? Personally, I try scheduling practice sessions with my teams a few evenings per week, but they are usually pretty short. Greetings from Denmark."
So a lot of this is particular to, well, one, doing this as part of a profession. It's easier to block time to play a game when I need to report on said game. So there's some understanding there as well. There's also, one-person jobs, as crazy as that is. And I think ultimately, if it comes to parenting, you need to focus on fair, not even. And we like to say even and fair, but they're not necessarily the same thing. You can never make up all the time. It's never a perfect 50-50 split. when it comes to taking care of something, like the dishes even. You do the dishes, sometimes that sink is more full than another, but you both did dishes on 2 different days. You can't compare the evenness of that dishes activity, but at least you made it fair. So probably the best thing you can do is make sure you're providing your spouse with the time they want for the things that they desire. Maybe too, making sure that those are scheduled after the kid's gone to bed, or maybe putting a child to bed. 2 girls, I don't have 2 kids, I just have 1, so I don't even know what, oh my goodness, they like excite each other, and then the one's about to fall asleep, but the other one wakes. It's not, oh my God, like that sounds absolutely madness. And Lord, if they're sharing the same room, they might start giggling or something, keeping themselves up. But that's the prime time for my team practices, is around 6 p.m. at night, when the job of putting little Flynn to bed is a one-person activity.
I could see in your eyes the I'm not sure I would call it terror, but concerned math that came with the idea of trying to juggle 2 children instead of 1.
Yeah, that is a life hurdle I have not met yet, and it seems impossible, but hey, you adapt, right? That's why people in zombie apocalypses are, having drinks, and there's fun parts in zombie apocalypse, because it's just what they're used to at this point.
That's a good point, right? Yeah, you just kind of get used to it, I guess. I don't know, not a parent.
But you also need more effective practice time is probably the more strong advice, because I don't know all the particulars of your scenario. And that's something that's worth talking about with your team. Like, and reminding them too, because a lot of, I'm not even going to say like parentless children, they have no idea what's going on. No, we all have our own stresses, and you're adapted to your current situation. So you can only handle what you currently are accustomed to. But in those practices that you do have, every draft, remind them what you want to be working on, because they're going to forget, and their time is a bit more open. So if you maybe don't get that Sonya game in this particular match, no big deal. You've got 4 other matches. Maybe your single friend goes till 3 a.m. They've got 20 more matches to go, but you've got 3 tonight. So you need to make sure your team works on the exact thing that you need to be thinking about.
It's a good way to put it. So, follow back up with us, Razak. I always like it when folks write in asking for this type of advice, and hearing how it goes for them.
We're also, I think it's worth admitting, and it's a calming thought, that we are in insane technological times, and we have no idea what the effect is on children. Like, there are things that say never ever let them see a screen until they're over 2 years old. But also, we're surrounded by screens. And if you go to a Target, there's screens in the back playing a movie with dogs on them, and they lose their minds. Nothing will teach you that life is so frustrating as hanging out with a toddler. And you realize how much we deal with. Like, Garrett, are you hungry right now?
No, I had lunch right before this. I'm good.
Okay. But is there something you'd like in life? Maybe a new chair?
Yeah, a new chair would be lovely, actually, dude. This thing is really old. This is a really old, dumpy chair that I use.
But you deal with it. You sit in that chair proudly. What if it was at the forefront of your mind? What if that was the only thing you cared about for a brief? Wouldn't that make you lose your cool? And here we are sitting around surrounded by things that could these boxes in this closet right here. I don't like the way they look. They're just all over. There's like Easter's touching Christmas, and I want different boxes for them. This could drive me insane. But for some reason, I'm capable of being an adult and letting that just sit there until a time I can deal with it. You learn a lot hanging out with toddlers and how we just learn to deal.
Because toddlers can't?
Yeah, because they can't. They're not used to just putting this project away for an hour. Or not having a cup of coffee right when they want. Not that he's drinking coffee, but you know what I mean? Like, I could go for a cup of coffee right now, but I'm keeping my cool.
Well, thank you, Kyle. I wasn't thinking about the invasive ferns taking over my shrubbery in the front of my house, but now I am. Now I'm thinking about how I should have pulled them while it was cool in Florida, and we're heading towards the first of endless 90-degree weekends.
Right. And you've work to do. And in the back of your brain, you're thinking about those ferns. So really, everyone applaud yourself, because there's probably something that drives you insane right now in your life. And you're currently not on the floor crying.
One of our lovely and longest running patrons texted me after, I think it was an episode 2 weeks ago, and I made some offhand HOA joke. And they were just like, "Oh, I feel very seen, Garrett." And I was just like, I'm glad my boring adult offhand comments were not lost on somebody.
A bit in the weeds, of course, but we all have to be patient. And that also means finding the effective time to play Heroes of the Storm.
Hey, it's the end of the podcast. That's when we get in the weeds, man.
There we go.
It's when we get in the weeds. Well, awesome. Keep your emails coming, everybody. itncast@gmail.com. Patrons, keep dropping us messages in that question channel. And that's going to bring us to the end of this episode of Into the Nexus. We appreciate everybody for watching, for listening, for writing into itncast@gmail.com. And of course, for supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. So if you do like our show, you want to support us, check it out, patreon.com/ITN. Huge thanks, by the way, to our producers, Declan H., Cheesy Bob, Chris K., and Sean B. You can catch us live typically Thursdays over at twitch.tv/AMOTV. Shuffled some things around. That's why the show's coming to you a day early this week, but that's usually when we record, and have no reason to believe next week will be any different. You can follow us on Twitter at ITNcast. I'm at Garrett Art. He is at Kyle Fergusson. That's the best way to know about any schedule changes, to be honest. So, yeah. Other than that, Kyle, dude, you do more than just Into the Nexus. Where can people find you?
I do. You can find me a number of places. All of them are linked at kyleferguson.com, 2 S's in Ferguson. But for the exciting things this week, let's see. Heroes Hearth is about to post my interview with Max Passion. So you should check that out if you're interested in Ragnaros, a Blast Wave build there. Really cool breakdown of that hero. The Season 1 finale of There Will Be Dungeons is coming up this weekend, as well as we have just announced our Season 2 with guest players for that Dungeons & Dragons live play show. And of course, twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, where you can find all sorts of things, including Valheim, but Heroes of the Storm streams.
Awesome. We finally killed Bone Mass this week. That was a binary boss.
Yeah, that was I'm hoping there's more to the game, because we kind of overgeared for it and it was really sad.
It was. Anyway, see that. I'll be posting the VOD soon. Folks, I'm on, I said Twitter, amove.tv. Just go there. All my shows are there. Go check it out. Got a new Angry Chicken WoW Killer coming to you this week. Plenty of shows over there if you go check out amove.tv. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. And until next time, good luck and have fun.
Take care.